program comes to you by electrical transcription. The Treasury Star Parade. With Miss Jane Cowell and a story by Elizabeth and James Hart. Miss Genevieve Rowe, Al Goodman and his orchestra and chorus, and Frederick March is our master of ceremonies. Our slogan,
Millions for Defense. Many bonds today. Bonds of freedom is what we're selling. Many bonds today.
This is Frederick March, ladies and gentlemen, in another of the new series of programs brought to you by the Treasury Department. At the microphone just in back of me is one of our attractive guests, Miss Genevieve Rowe. On the podium, our illustrious conductor, Al Goodman, and on the music racks of the musicians, a message of hope to a worried world. Irving Berlin's song, It's a Lovely Day Tomorrow. Excuse me, do you folks know Jane Cowell? Genevieve, you know Jane.
Oh, yes, of course.
Hello there.
You know, Jane, that fellow Berlin writes beautiful music.
Yes, he does. But it's the lyrics of his song that I especially like. They're so simple and yet so full of meaning. Tomorrow is a lovely day. You know, Freddie, that's been the hope and cry of humankind forever, from the earliest days. History is full of stories of hate and war, of bigotry and intolerance. But men always look forward to that lovely day tomorrow, when perhaps those things will be no longer with us.
Yes.
Elizabeth and James Hart wrote a beautiful story a few years ago, which they called Mary Dyer's story. It deals with prejudice and intolerance and a woman's unconquerable faith in the ultimate good of tomorrow.
She was a Quaker, wasn't she?
Yes. Mary Dyer's dead. She's been dead a long time. And yet the thing she was, the thing she stood for, can never die. Because, you see, she died in the cause of an idea. Yes, Mary Dyer was a Quaker. In Boston in 1658, the Puritans had forgotten that they came to America to find religious freedom. And when a new sect, the Quakers, rose among them, they became as cruel in their hatred and intolerance as ever their own persecutors had been across the sea. From the pulpits of the Puritan church, the ministers thundered abomination upon the new religion.
These be abominations spilled from the mouth of the beast of Revelation. I would carry fire in one hand, faggots in the other, to burn all the Quakers in the world. Drive them out, drive!
And the arm of the law hastened to obey the command of the intolerant voice. On Boston Common was heard the crack of the whip upon naked flesh, the roar of fire, the clank of iron, the hiss of hot metal on flesh, the Quakers' moans and strangled sobs of pain. Finally, the governor passed a law banishing all Quakers from Massachusetts, forbidding them to return upon pain of death. But with level eyes and quiet strength, they still returned to preach the principles of tolerance and religious freedom. Many of them were caught, many killed, and Mary Dyer was amongst those sentenced to die. With 2 Quaker brethren, they took her out to the common where the gibbet stood on which they were to be hanged. The drums rolled fiercely, drowning out the voices which would preach tolerance so that the people of Boston should not hear. And then the crowd realized that one of the 3 was a woman.
See, it's a woman.
It's a knave's work hanging a woman. She's too fair a neck for stretching, this Mary Dyer.
She tried to speak to them. I would speak to you people of Boston, she cried. But the furious roll of the drums drowned her voice, too. And while her lips moved vainly against the overpowering noise, they placed the noose around her neck. Then suddenly, through the crowd, came a soldier carrying in his hand a reprieve. Even the governor of Massachusetts was not sure that the people would stand by and see a woman hung. Yes, they reprieved Mary Dyer and sent her back to her husband in Rhode Island. But she was not happy. The months passed, and then one evening after she'd put the children to bed, she joined her husband, and this conversation took place between them.
Are the children asleep?
They will be soon. They've had a busy day.
Come sit by me.
Oh, dear. Quiet, isn't it? So peaceful.
Blessed peace. What is thee making?
Something for Christmas. For Beth.
Stockings?
Yes.
Ah, Mary, it's wonderful to have you safe here in Rhode Island.
These months have been precious.
Precious and full of love and warmth and kindness.
And no memories, William?
I try not to remember. I'd rather forget.
It's only too easy to forget. We must keep reminding ourselves that even now, in Boston, men are whipped and branded and their ears cut off.
Mary, please, let's leave the past behind us and forget all that. Let's be grateful for this home, so full of gladness.
It isn't so easy to forget that I'm alive, here with thee, only because I'm a woman. If I'd been a man, they would have hanged me. But because I was a woman, they were afraid, and they exiled me instead. Sometimes I feel that when I came down from the gallows, I was running away.
Mary, please. I know the feelings of you Quakers. Sometimes I see your thoughts turning back to Boston, and then I'm frightened, Mary.
William, what news from Boston? What hast thee heard?
The same. More Quakers ready to turn the other cheek. They don't resist. They don't fight. They merely come to let the law take its course. They almost overwhelm the Puritans by their mildness.
And what do the people of Boston think when they see these victims?
Who knows?
William, if anything should ever happen, remember that this home of ours was perfect, and that I loved it, and thee, and our children so much that I wanted others, too, to know this peace as well.
Mary, what do you mean? What are you saying?
Thee understands, doesn't thee, William?
Mary, listen. Ever since you were saved, I've known that I'd lose you again. And when I do, there'll be those who will ask why I didn't restrain my wife, why I didn't lock you up, why I stood by and let you go to your doom. They won't understand, Mary, that the love that's between thee and me exists and is made strong by the very liberty in whose cause one day you will walk again down the road to Boston Common.
And one day, Mary Dyer did walk again down the road to Boston Common.
She's back.
Mary Dyer's back. Mary Dyer's back in Boston.
The governor banished her, but she came back.
They'll arrest her for sure.
Mary Dyer, the court sentences you to die on the gallows.
Thee need not trouble to bind my eyes, friend soldier. There's nothing I'm afraid to see.
Soldier, obey your orders. Bind her eyes. Guide her feet up the ladder.
Nay, I will speak first to these people who have come to see me die.
Let her be heard.
I want to ask your prayers, people of Boston, and to tell you why I've come back from banishment. No Knowing this
What is
time
she saying?
there was no reprieve.
What is she saying?
Knowing this time
Her
I
lips
would
are still
surely be
moving.
hanged.
She speaks with her face turned toward us as though there were no drums at all.
I heard her then.
Ah, you're tired.
Nay, I heard her plain. She said they try to silence me because they're afraid.
They beat the drums as hard as ever, and yet somehow... Listen! Listen!
They roll the drums so that they will not hear. But I know that they will hear me. I feel thy kindness flow out toward me. I know that though they deafen thy ears with drums, my message will reach thee. They will tell thee many things about me that are false. They will say I sought this death because I was crazed and sickened of earth. But it is not so. I am wed to a good husband. I love him well. We have 5 children. The youngest took his first steps this spring. Judge for yourselves if the earth is sweet to me. Or they'll say I'm vain and waiting a martyr's place in heaven. Or that I'm devil bewitched and think myself a prophetess. Do not believe them. And do not believe any man, be he my advocate or my foe, who says I died to win thee from thy own way of worshipping God to mine. I seek not to set up my religion as the only faith which is fair in the eyes of God. For concerning creed, I say to thee, let everyone worship God as God shall persuade his heart. Thus only shall men escape the bloodshed and cruelty that flourish in this commonwealth. The darkness, fear, and hatred which those tyrants have compelled thee to endure shall be lifted only when thee raise thy voices against any law which persecutes thy fellow men. I've asked thee to pray for me. Pray I shall not die in vain. Pray that liberty of conscience shall not die in vain. Pray that liberty of conscience may take root in the earth to which I am committed and grow throughout the land. Pray that my blood shall nourish the seed of tolerance. Pray that there may come a day when those of all other faiths, Jew and Papist, the followers of Calvin, and thy people and my people shall live together in peace and quietness, and shall do each other no harm. Guide my feet up the ladder, friend soldier. I will go now.
She hangs there like a flag.
Thank you, James Hart. The story of Mary Dyer is a vivid reminder that our freedom, our religious and racial tolerance, all of the benefits which we as Americans enjoy today have been consecrated by the blood of martyrs, fought for, paid for in bitter coin. It is our task today to see that this liberty and freedom shall not perish from the earth. We will do this with our tanks and with our planes, with our battleships, our destroyers, and our submarines. And we will do it with our factories, our farms, our laboratories, our mines, everywhere, here at home in our great nation. And we will save. Today, the best method of saving is to buy defense bonds and stamps. Budget a part of your income every week. Join the Treasury payroll savings plan wherever you work. Defense bonds and stamps are the best way of investing in the future of America. It's your country. Keep it yours.
The United States Treasury Department thanks the distinguished artists who donated their talents to this performance, Miss Jane Cowell, Mr. Frederick March, and Miss Genevieve Rowe, and hopes that they will soon be with us again. The orchestra and chorus were under the direction of Al Goodman. Writing by Malcolm Meacham, John Latouche, and Hal Block. Production by William A. Bacher. This is Larry Elliott speaking.